Finally, the SI version of the 11th generation Civic is here. It's new, it's improved, and it's got a manual. Let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Max, racing driver, lover of driving fast, fun things, and on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. Now, this all-new Honda Civic Si is definitely something interesting to me. I raced Honda Civics for quite some time and have a real soft spot for these things. Really, really dig them, but this is the all-new 11th generation Civic Si, so it means a lot of things. So let's have a look at this in a little more depth. Given that this is the all-new 11th generation Civic, there's a lot that's new and a lot that's similar with this Si. The engine is still the 1.5-liter Turbo 4. It's on the big tune, which means it makes 200 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and peak torque of 192 pounds from 1,800 to 5,000 RPM. That is slightly refined from the previous generation. Transmission is a 6-speed manual with a short throw shifter, and it does have rev matching if you so desire. Naturally, this is front-wheel drive. There is a lighter flywheel in there than before, and the diff is a wonderful mechanical limited slip diff. Given that this is based on the 11th generation Civic, the unibody is stiffer than before, track is wider, and the wheelbase is also longer. Suspension is based on McPherson struts at the front, multi-link at the rear with stiffer calibrations all around, including bushings, and it does have conventional dampers, not adjustable or adaptive dampers. Steering is electrically assisted. Of course, it does have a variable ratio, and apparently there's a stiffer torsion bar attached to the rack for more direct feel and response. Brakes are 12.3-inch rotors at the front, 11.1 at the rear. Wheels are only matte black, not my favorite. They're 18s with 235/40 18s, and we are in Canada, so we are on winter tires right now. Have no idea what the OEM tire is. Inside, there are 2-piece buckets in the front. There is a digital instrument cluster for us Canadians. The big infotainment screen sits on top of the dash. There is a Bose sound system, wireless charging because this is a Canadian car. There is wired and wireless Apple CarPlay here. There might be Android Auto support, but I know nothing about Android phones, so who really cares? Curb weight is 2,952 pounds. Weight distribution, 61% at the front, 39% at the rear. But my friends, don't forget, it's not static weight distribution that counts, it's how you use it. It is that time in the episode for how to spec your Honda Civic Si, and this is actually a fairly simple thing, but slightly complicated, as we will get into. Base price in the United States is $27,300. In Canada, it's $33,150, but these are really not the same cars. What you are looking at is the blazing orange pearl paint. It's a $395 option in the US. It's no charge here in Canada, and maybe it is the signature color for this new Si. However, the US and Canadian cars are not the same. Completely different specs. Thanks to Big Buck Orama, I've got a list of features that Canadian cars get that the US don't. Heated seats and steering wheel, fog lights, parking sensors, integrated side mirror turn indicators, Qi wireless charging, auto dimming rear view mirror with garage door opener, a full digital instrument cluster, and dual zone climate control. Thanks again to Big Buck Orama. In the US, there is just one option other than paint, and that is a $200 summer tire option. Haven't driven it, can't comment on it, so as tested, this is $27,695 US, kinda sorta, given that these are not the same specifications, or in Canada, this is $33,150. Now, how do you spec yours? Well, if you're American, you probably want the Canadian specification, but you can't. This might be the only time it's better to be a Canadian. Anyway, what you do want, of course, is a different color. Reason being, the interior is black and red, and with this orange paint, it's just clashy. So get black, red, white, or gray paint and be very happy with your Civic Si. We did try the all-new Civic model a little while ago, so a lot of the fundamentals are the same. So the dashboard is going to be very familiar, as is the steering wheel, but it's trimmed a little bit differently in the SI. But as far as me being set up as a driver here, I'm very comfortable, set up perfectly, great relationship to the steering wheel and to the pedals, which we'll talk about in a moment. Love these two-piece buckets. The only thing I don't like about them is the fact that I think they're a little bit too high. I'd like to get them a little bit lower. I'd like to sit a little lower in the chassis here, but otherwise like the support, like all the bolstering, and they're very, very comfortable. With respect to those pedals, yes, I've got a great relationship to them. Great dead pedal for my left foot. However, for us heel and toe enthusiasts, there's a wee bit of a problem. The spacing between the brake pedal and the throttle pedal is a little too much, a little too wide, even for my very wide skate shoes that I'm using here. And let me tell you, heel and toe downshifts can be executed. It's just not quite as perfect as you like. Of course, you can fix that with some aftermarket pedal covers if that's your thing, but otherwise, as it comes, it's possible, just not perfect. Works for me, might not work for you. In terms of spaciousness, this is based on the all-new Civic, so there's lots of room in here, front row, second row, tons of storage as well. And of course, here is the wireless charger, because this is a Canadian car, so there's a little bit of room here. I don't necessarily like using that. I much prefer using a wired connection from my phone, and actually haven't tried the wireless CarPlay, but that's another story for another day. With respect to headroom, and somebody wanted to know about headroom, I'm like 5'9" or 5'10" or something, and there's a fair bit of room here. The seat does have some height adjustment. I have it as low as it can go, of course, and there's a fair bit of room above me. So if you are 6'2", maybe, you could easily fit in here, even with the sunroom, which comes with the car as standard equipment. Ergonomically, this is all new Civic, so it is not much of a departure from existing Honda technology. Everything is straightforward, easy to use, and I love the interior design of this new Civic. Love the way they've got it trimmed here in the SI as well. This is just a lovely, lovely interior. What I don't care for inside is the electronic parking brake. Sure, I would love an old mechanical parking brake lever, but that doesn't happen anymore. Don't like that the brake hold function has to be turned on every time I turn on the car. As far as the drive mode selector goes, it's conveniently located. We'll talk about drive modes in a little bit, but I've got mine set to individual, which really doesn't stray very far from the default mode. I hate to say it, my American friends, but one of the highlights of this Civic Si is the digital instrument cluster. It's pretty, it's attractive, it's easily read, it just does everything I want it to do, and it's simple and it's straightforward in its ability to display just the simple information I'm looking for when I'm driving. Just perfection. The infotainment system is Honda's new technology, and I don't know if there's a great processor sitting behind this. Reason being, every time I'm starting up the car, it seems like it takes a minute or two for it to really come alive and interface with my phone or whatever the case is. Love to see a faster processor and a quicker starting system here, but otherwise, once it's running, works just fine. I do enjoy the way they've integrated CarPlay into this system. When you're using the Honda system, not CarPlay, it's got a shortcut button to Apple CarPlay on the bottom, which makes it very, very easy. Instead of having to back out of menus or whatever the case is, you can easily hit that button at the bottom of the screen and boom, you're in CarPlay. Same thing goes for Sirius XM, which I love listening to as well. There's a shortcut button at the bottom. The way they've designed this user interface is very, very clever. They've done an excellent job with this system's user interface. Very, very happy with it. Now, in terms of acceleration, this thing is better when it's on the move, but it'll do 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds or so. There is no launch control. Launch control is your right foot. Top speed maybe somewhere over 130 miles an hour. Not that that's a big deal. I don't think there's a lot of aero here to support high speeds like that. Traction is determined by the limited slip diff. It is mechanical. It's not an e-diff, and it works wonderfully. I really have no complaints about it. Whether you're accelerating in a straight line or exiting exiting out of a corner, putting power down. It distributes power properly, and this thing tracks so sure-footedly. I'm very impressed with it. And for all of the different conditions that I've been driving this thing, they've done a great job of banishing torque steer. There really is no torque steer here. Really well done, Honda. The best thing about this engine is that it's so eager to make power and torque. It is remarkable in that way. It gives this car a lively character, and it's one of the things I love about it. It just makes torque everywhere, so it's no problem accelerating up to speed or to some illegal speeds, whatever strikes your fancy. There is a bit of that wicked rev hang that was part of the previous generation's motor's character. It's still here. It really doesn't drop revs quickly, and that, of course, is apparently for emissions reasons. I'd love it to be a little bit more free revving, but this is what Honda's been doing these last few generations with their Civic SIs. There really are no ways around it, of course, so it's one of the things you gotta live with. It's unfortunate because this thing is said to have a lighter flywheel, so imagine if it didn't have this rev hang and was allowed to rev up and down freely. I think this would be a jewel of a motor. One of the highlights of this car is this shifter for the 6-speed manual. This is one of the best front-wheel drive shifters I have experienced in a very, very long time. Might be the best one on the market today. The throws are all short. This is just a very compact gate, and to manipulate the shifter, it's just so easy, feels so positive. And on top of that, the close ratio gearbox is near perfection. Not a single one of these ratios is out of whack. It's just a lovely, lovely gearbox, and it's wonderful to work with. From a stop, the clutch has got great bite, but when you're on the move, it's fairly soft, which means it's very forgiving for those who aren't proficient with manual transmissions. I just like something that's a little more positive and a little more crisp than this, but I understand why they do this. Earlier, I mentioned this does have rev matching, and guess what? It's selectable, so we're not using it. If you haven't figured out heel and toe, well, you can use the rev matching function to help you along, but advanced drivers like us on this channel, well, we skip the rev matching and do the heel and toe work ourselves. In terms of drive modes, there's not much difference between any of them. There's a standard drive mode, there is sport, and then there's an individual one. I use individual because I can change the parameters for the steering assist, but otherwise there's not much of a difference between any of these drive modes. What they actually control are the amount of steering assist that you get, throttle response to a certain degree, and as well how the instrument cluster displays itself in each of the different drive modes. It's really that simple. This also has adaptive cruise control, and it's actually pretty cool. It's one of Honda's better systems. I love the way it works. It is a little bit conservative in terms of its following distance, but one of the things I do love about it, it's a bit of a smart cruise control system, is that you can shift and maintain cruise control function. It's actually very cool in that regard. So when you shift, it doesn't disable the cruise control. Really well done, Honda. Thank you for that. I really, really enjoy that. This is an electrically assisted steering system, of course, so you do have that adjustability, but in terms of feel, there's not much feel or feedback that comes from the contact patches through to your hands on the wheel, and that's okay because it is direct and it is precise. Love the way it steers otherwise, but I am also not a steering feel fetishist, so I'm very happy with the way the steering system works. Yes, I'd love a quicker steering rack, but that's probably going to end up in the Type R. What I am happy with is brake feel. That is just excellent, top-notch, and we're not talking about a sophisticated braking system like on the Type R. We've just got some simple calipers and some larger rotors compared to the regular Civic, and it works great for me. I can control this car on the brake pedal when I am throwing it around. The way I'm able to work with this car, I'm very, very pleased with, and that certainly starts with the brake pedal, and I do love a good brake pedal. In terms of its handling, it starts with a completely different suspension setup than the regular 11th generation Civic, which I'm pretty sure I didn't like. Let's check back and have a look. There's not enough rebound damping on those front dampers, on those front shocks. There's a little bit extra body motion in there after you hit a big bump, a big road imperfection. Yep, didn't like it, but I like this. The only thing I don't care for is that it's maybe stiffly sprung for some people, but for me, love it. It does ride firm, and the damping is spot on as well. The suspension calibrations are just perfect for this car for day-to-day driving. Now, for me, I would like this car to be a little less neutral. I'd like a little more roll stiffness in the back so that I can rotate it a little bit easier on the throttle. It's not as lively as some previous generation Civic SIs, and that has to do with a couple of things. We've got a wider track on this 11th generation car, and we've got a longer wheelbase, so it is a little bit more benign. It's definitely on the neutral side, but again, cars don't understeer or oversteer by themselves. It's all up to you as the pilot to make it do these things. I just like it to be a little easier for me to make this thing oversteer a little bit. Otherwise, I think this is a great suspension setup for a Civic Si. It's spot on in terms of the way it's supposed to ride and handle, although I'd like it to be a little more loose, a little less neutral for my tastes, but maybe not yours. Who knows? Leave a comment if you've got some other thoughts there. My verdict, well, for starters, this 2022 Honda Civic Si is really in a category of one. It doesn't have any direct competition. Sure, some of you might say that the Elantra N is a direct competitor, but it's really not. Its performance envelope is completely different, and it's really positioned against the Type R, that's for sure. And on top of that, the Elantra N costs thousands more than this Civic Si does. And as far as my American friends go, I'm kind of bummed you don't get all the features that us Canadians get in this new Civic Si. And for once, it doesn't suck to be Canadian. Who knew? Anyway, this is the best Civic Si that Honda has turned out. Its performance, its drivability, its driving satisfaction, its spaciousness, and its tech are all winners as far as I'm concerned. Sure, it's not perfect, but I think this is the best way you can spend 27 grand US or $31,000 Canadian. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this all-new 2022 Honda Civic Si. Hope you liked this episode as much as I did. I really enjoyed driving this, and if you did, well, you're not new to YouTube. You know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, like this video, and as always, sharing is caring, so please share this episode with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below, lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Anyway, thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time, and remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even Honda Civic SIs.